Hi, Teresa, Stephanie. So we're here to basically show you and tell you what your results are from the testing that we did last week. So I wanted to just give you some ideas on what those numbers look like. And so this is just a baseline, right? It's just the beginning of your program. So with that being said, as it's the beginning of the program, it's just to allow you to understand where you're starting, and so that we can track this. We know where you started, and so that we have a good understanding on your baseline measurements, so that we can track your progress as you continue to go through your fitness program. Okay. Don't be discouraged by the numbers. When we go over the numbers, it's not for you to be discouraged by whatsoever. At the same time, I want to continue to encourage you to understand that this is just baseline information. Okay? So we're going to start off with your BMI. Okay, so the BMI, and I'll explain what the BMI is a little bit. So your BMI was 32.6, and the BMI basically takes your height and your weight. Okay, so, and it's a calculation that we do it to allow you to understand where you're starting with regards to your height and your weight. It doesn't take into consideration anything else. It's just height and weight. Okay, and I'll explain a little bit later on what other values we got that kind of help us understand a little bit more about where you're starting. So your BMI right now, your height is 5'4", and your weight is 190 pounds. Your BMI is 32.6. Okay, so if we go down here, if we go to this sheet, we did some calculations for your BMI, and we came up with a 32.52 BMI from the calculations. Now, there's a classification of underweight, normal, overweight, and obesity. And so the BMI was 32.52, and it basically calculated and classified you as being at this particular category. Now, I don't want you to be discouraged by that. Like I said in the beginning, again, it's just a starting point for you. We'd like, through the process of the program over the next few months, to allow you to reclassify into one of these categories. Okay? Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. So that's BMI. So with regards to your circumference measurements, we did some circumference measurements. Do you remember we did the tape measure and all that on the arm and waist and so forth? And so here's the measurements you had. You had arm 17, thigh 29, abdomen 39, waist 37, hip 40. There is a calculation for a waist to hip ratio, and that waist hip ratio does give us a classification as well. The waist was 37, the hip was 40. The waist to hip ratio for you was 92.5. And so with regards to that, we'd like to see you as a female at 85% or lower. Okay, so we do have a little bit of progress. We do have a little bit of work to do on this. But again, as it is with BMI, it's a starting point. So basically this is saying that your waist and your hip is 37 and 40. And so this is basically saying that this is where your circumference measurements lie for both of these regions of your body. So again, 92.5, we would just want to see that number, we continue to see progress with the 92.5. Okay, so as you go through the program and we see you again in like 3 months, we would just like to see that these numbers are decreased. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
And then the body fat percentage is 32.80%, and this is where we did the skin fold measurements and so forth. And so again, this is a number that we'd like to see this number decrease to a range that is between like 15 and 20.
Okay.
All right, so that would be the goal, is like between 15 and 20% for you. This is a really good indicator for us. I don't really want you to go by weight. because weight is it just takes into consideration body fat and muscle, and this really gives us a really good understanding of how much body fat percentage you have. And so with that being said, we really want to focus on the circumference measurements, and we want to really focus on the body fat percentage. You can still only lose a little bit of weight, but you could see a drastic increase in percentage body fat, and this is going to be a better indicator for us for progress. All right, so I don't want you to jump on the scale every day checking for weight, because the weight's not going to change the way you want it to typically. We might see not a very big change in weight, but a huge change and improvement in body fat percentage, and I would be super happy with that. Okay? Are there any questions about this?
Nope, it all makes sense.
Okay. Well, I look forward to working with you, and I look forward to seeing a lot of progress.
Thank you.
Right?